Let's go. Welcome to the Underground Crypto Deep Dive Show. I will be your host, Underground Crypto, because who else would I be? Welcome in, welcome in. A lot of cool stuff to go over today. Some cool narratives. I know there's, some rumblings around about the market being down and everybody being out. But this too shall pass. I'm sure of it. How's everybody doing out there? Shout out to all my undergrounders. Chris Goss in the house. Plague Dogs, not to be confused with Panther Dogs. Melissa, welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Camping with your son. That's awesome. I've never taken my son camping, and I really need to because he is 8 now. And I feel like once you're 8, you should already have gone camping. All right, guys, let's kick it off. There's plenty of stuff to go over. It doesn't matter what the market's doing. We are here to raise that crypto IQ regardless. And, of course, stay on top of what is going on. Hash, or Province blockchain, which we've looked at before. It's up 116% in the top 100, looking like the biggest green bubble here. DXY, up 15.2%, still taking names there to like $21.92 as a high. And of course, Siren, which pumps and dumps really hard. It's down 21%. So Beat is up. Not beat up, but Beat is up 13.9%. Let's toggle down the top 1,000, and wow, it's amazing anything is up very much because there is some negative in the house. Negative 4.5, 4.9 is the winner here, but a lot of negative. We won't go through all of them. We usually go through the first 300. That's about it. And even with all of that being said, there are some that are up. Home bouncing back was down a little bit yesterday. It was in I believe our top losers yesterday. It's up 41%. Telcoin up 25%. Chili's is down 20%. Piverse down 20%. Grass down 20%. And let's drop down to the last 2 to 300 that we usually go to. In this BTW, Bitway is up 246% today. They pumped the heck out of this thing. Pretty incredible if you ask me. It's like a high of about 4, dust on my computer, of about 4.5 cents there. Camsta in the house. Welcome in, welcome in. And Form is up 15.6%. Let's bounce over to a snapshot of what is going on. So Bitcoin is trading around 63,900. That was at the time of this. I wonder what it's at now. Yeah, same thing, 63,752. About 3% down. Low trade near 61.5. Ethereum is under 1773. So under 1,800. I don't like to see Ethereum down under 2,000, but it is what it is. Solana falling under $70 and XRP under $1.18. Bitcoin and Ethereum are heading towards 52-week lows. Could it be a good time to grab some cryptocurrency? That's what everybody wants to know. Or are we going massively lower to where I will also be grabbing more cryptocurrency? So Bitcoin 63,700, overall market cap 2.29, so really 2.3 trillion, down 0.3% today. Ethereum $1,769, BNB $605. I would love to get a much better entry on BNB. XRP $1.17, Solana $68, Hyperliquid $64, Dogecoin falling under 9 cents, 8 cents, very high 8 cents, almost 9 cents. Zcash $453. Everything's, kind of feels like it's resetting and giving you lows again. Now Monero's decided it's going to do a little bit of price action here. Looks like a very inverted head and shoulder there on the 7-day. $371. XLM 20 cents. Cardano 17.5 cents. Chainlink $8. Canton Network 14. high 14 cents. What else is worth talking about? Meme Core, $3.30, up 12% on the last 7 days. Still a little bit of green there. Lab, of course, has been crushing it. It's at $11 still, holding 167 in the last 7 days. That's percentages. H-bar chilling around a low 8 cents. 8 cents. Blur that word altogether. Wow, watch the viewership fall right off a cliff. Everybody's going to watch the Lifer stream, I bet. I wish I could go watch it. Litecoin, $45.60. Avalanche, $7.69. And, of course, SWI, 76 cents. SWI still kind of rolling over. Let's go look and see if Flare is still in the top 100. It is number 91 by market cap. And, of course, we need to talk about what the quote of the day is. Introduce the topic of the day. Most of you probably don't know. Anybody know what the series is? So, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and that sounds simple. But discipline is doing all the things when you don't want to do them, which is like the opposite of easy. All right, you may not know this, but tokenized real-world assets are already a multi-billion-dollar market, and stablecoins are an even larger part of that on-chain financial system. RWA.XYZ currently tracking tens of billions of dollars in tokenized real-world assets, while stablecoins represent hundreds of billions in on-chain value. I don't think I've ever checked this out. Okay. Wow. And they don't even trust that website. Sketchy. I'd never heard of that website. All right. That matters because RWA chains are not just asking, can we create another crypto ecosystem? They are asking, can traditional assets eventually move, trade, and settle on the blockchain rails? Of course they can, and they will at some point. Inevitably, in my opinion. I believe Sol will go down some more. I hope it does to make things cheaper. Yeah. And I already own some Sol. It's definitely underwater right now. So I would love to scoop a little bit more to even myself out here. So most people think new blockchains are built for speed, DeFi, gaming, or speculation. But some are aiming for something much bigger, and that is real-world finance. I'm always trying to remember the exact numbers, but the WEF, who of course many of us are not huge fans of, but they did this survey or study about tokenized real-world assets, RWAs and stuff, and they said, I think they said like $6 trillion worth of things that would very quickly and easily come on. I think it was by the year 2030, but regardless, they seem to be very bullish on it by their numbers, even if they might not be bullish by their ethics. So, what are we talking about tonight? Crypto starts with purely digital asset, right? Bitcoin was not a claim on a building. Ethereum was not a share of a company. Most tokens were native to the internet. But now, one of the biggest conversations in crypto is about bringing traditional assets on-chain, what we know as RWAs. And that's real-world assets for somebody in the back who just slipped in and doesn't know what we're talking about. Jimmy Villain says, let's put a massive green candle on the crypto knowledge. Absolutely. What's up, UC? Hey, what's up, man? Welcome in, welcome in. We're talking about RWAs and things of that nature, mostly tokenized assets and stuff. We'll be talking about Mantra and Plume and things that are relevant to RWAs. I think it's going to be a good show. We're going to raise that crypto IQ. It might be a quick show tonight. Again, the shows are as long as they need to be to cover the information that we need to. I'm not going to make them super long on purpose or super short on purpose for that matter. So let's get into it. And we have a lot of what's trending and stuff to go over. So, one of the biggest conversations is bringing traditional assets on chain. That is what people mean when they are talking about real world assets. RWAs are not just another crypto trend. Far from it, right? They're actually the TradFi blending with the crypto blockchain technology. They represent a bridge between two very different systems. One side is traditional finance. has enormous asset markets like bonds and treasuries, real estate, private credit, funds and securities, and I tell you it gets even smaller, to luxury cars, watches, priceless paintings. I mean, you name it. If it is a physical, real thing, or just already exists basically and is considered valuable, it can have a representation on chain. I mean, look how for most people to get hopefully you guys saw the Lifers video on SpaceX, but a lot of people want early access to it. Well, unless you're an accredited investor, which means you have over $1 million and doesn't include your like house assets, right? You have to have over $1 million, I believe, liquid cash to be an accredited investor inside the United States and things like that. I'm sure it's similar for places like Canada, but regardless, you really can't get early access unless you can get somebody to sell you shares, and SpaceX has to approve it, which is even like more hassle, right? Well, in, cryptocurrency, we have representations of it where you can get early access to it. On Weeks, I even see that they have some, of course, Weeks. Shout out to Andy, who owns Weeks. He's really an awesome person. Had a lot of fun talking with him. And, they're doing things that basically they're letting the average man have access to things, and woman have access to things that we normally would never get access to, that we for a long time have said, oh, only the rich get access to. Crypto, slowly but surely, is leveling the playing field a little bit. On the other side, crypto has blockchain infrastructure, right? So we listed what is of traditional finance. Now we talk about what crypto has to offer. Transparent ledgers, programmable assets, faster settlement, and I mean much faster settlement compared to the SWIFT system. Global transferability and composability. The RWA thesis asks, what happens if these two worlds connect? Sounds simple, but it's not. Because real-world assets are very different from crypto-native assets, right? If you launch a meme coin, there may not be much legal complexity, at least not right now. But if you tokenize real estate, private credit, securities, treasury products, now you have to deal with legal ownership, investor rights, jurisdictions, compliance, identity, transfer restrictions, redemption, custody, and reporting. Reporting seems like it wouldn't be too hard though. That is why RWA-focused chains exist. They're not just trying to be faster, they're trying to build infrastructure that can support regulated real-world financial assets. That is where Plume and MANTRA become interesting. What is going on in this chat? We'll get to that in a second. So MANTRA positions itself around regulatory compliance, RWA, tokenization. Both are making similar bets. Plume positions itself around RWA finance and on-chain asset management. I just want to really point this out because I feel like I walked over it. So Plume positions itself around RWA finance and on-chain asset management, where MANTRA positions itself around regulatory compliance, RWA tokenization. They're similar, but they're kind of betting on two different things. Crypto's future may not only be about creating new assets. It may be also about bringing existing financial assets onto blockchain rails. I don't see how that doesn't happen. I don't see a world where they just stay separate because, old man yells at kids on his lawn and he won't let them on his lawn. And so therefore somehow traditional finance assets just can never be tokenized. I just don't see that. But if that becomes a major trend, then RWAs would become a serious infrastructure category. Also realize that makes it far more available to everybody in the globe to pour their money into it, and that is good for the people who are already in those assets, right? So they're going to be on board. But there is a major risk here. Tokenization does not automatically create liquidity. Putting an asset on chain does not automatically mean that people will trade it. Making something digital does not automatically make it useful. So the deeper question is, can RWA's chains create real demand, real liquidity, and real institutional trust? That is the test. Now we're going to come back to this, and I'm honestly probably going to read this all over again because it'll probably be like an hour before we really get to come back to this. But I don't want to bury it too deep for those who clicked on it and came here for that. So let's talk about what's trending and what's going on in this chat. Camsta came in just blowing it up. I love that. Do we stack more Sol or do we stack hype or hold a bag of both? I think a bag of both, in my opinion, sounds cool. Near, I like Near. I like how Near has kind of really positioned itself as like the top crypto AI legitimacy coin, right? If you really want the most legitimate. It was BitTensor, but I see Near kind of taking that over. Down 50 bucks. It was holding nice. Yeah, well, if BTC goes to 40K from 60, Sol goes from 60 to 40 probably. Very possible. I mean, what did Sol, what previous all-time low was, what, like $20 from the last market? Not the bear market before that, but, you know, the last one. I believe it was about 20 bucks, a little under 20 bucks. Hype flip Sol in price for a bit. In price? You mean in market cap? Though it was near 74. Oh, okay, he does mean in price. We gotta remember that hype seems like the future until some FUD messes it up. Yep. When they want to get in lower, Camp says probably safe to split between the two since selling Sol at this price is insane. Exactly. Better to just add. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna stop DCAing when the price is high. Well, there you go. You got to take your own advice and buy low and sell lower. I appreciate you commenting on my reels and stuff like that. It does mean a lot to see the engagement from everybody on those reels. And it helps get them out to more people so more people can love crypto. Or just say something crazy on there, which I love those people too. It's a lot of fun. All right, so Bonk is trending. Zcash is trending. Hyperliquid. Now, of course, we're looking at what's trending. We're also looking for things that are interesting or we don't know a lot about or we want to focus on. So if I just roll through this like I'm going to and not really highlight anything, you'll know why. Because they're all things you should probably know. Bonk trending. Zcash trending. Hyperliquid trending. Near Protocol trending. Bitcoin. WorldCoin just keeps trending, and like, if you know what WorldCoin is, I don't know why anybody would care about it. But who knows? They keep rebranding everything. I haven't looked at it in a month, so it's probably rebranded itself. Now it's probably a charity coin. I'm joking. All jokes, of course. Ondo. Lab, of course, been crushing it. Pudgy Penguins is always trending. BitTensor, Cardano, Sui, Solana, XRP, and Mega ETH, which still hasn't bounced much, but Mega ETH something I'm eyeing for some real crazy lows at some point here. If it just keeps dumping, we could just keep buying, and there will be a run at some point. The question is, if you get too far outside of like the top 30 by market cap coins, what coins are actually going to be relevant and matter at that point? That's really the question here. So the Fear and Greed Index is at 12. Not amazing, pretty much where it was yesterday. I think it was at 11. No, it was actually at 12 yesterday. 7 days ago, 23, 1 month, 46. You can see we've been trending down. Let's see, June 1st. Is it not going to tell me where we were? It seems counterintuitive. Oh, here we are, 29. So we were at 29 on June 1st, and now we're at 12. Typically, these are the better times to buy anything in the market. It is what it is. You can believe it. You cannot believe it. We've seen it play out time and again. I mean, how about when we were at 5 on the Fear and Greed Index? Those were good buys. I think we're now getting back down to some of those prices. Yeah, my master class is coming out. Buy low, sell lower, drive skateboard. Camsta, you're crushing it. It'd be an awesome thumbnail for a video, though. Would be hilarious. It would be hilarious, Camsta, to do like a parody kind of financial advising, but it's just like all really terrible advice. But like, you don't say that. Like you actually like, you seem serious. But of course the video is like, I don't know, played out enough that people can tell. Like when you're telling them they should drive a skateboard everywhere, and that's cool, and that's winning, then I think they should be able to figure out that it's a joke. I don't know. Anyways, Papercut. You're giving me ideas. Papercut is a European fintech payment solution. It's European fintech. That's about as boring as it gets. It'll probably pump to the moon because it seems like all the worst things are what wind up pumping. Don't get me wrong. There are good stuff that pumps, but there's plenty of crap that pumps too, like Rave DAO. Aviv. This was in that OKX ecosystem. I'm not super involved with OKX, you know what I mean, ecosystem, or have a lot of experience with it, but of course I know about it, right? It's a big, I don't know how big you would say comparatively to other communities, but it has a big community. All right, so it's an AI-powered Web3 image feed with on-chain revenue sharing and deflationary tokenomics. The part that I really like about this is they just keep touting that deflationary revenue. So that's really kind of big in their ethos here of what they are and what they're going to do. It is under social media. So it's going to be maybe like a social-fi kind of thing, but it's all going to be AI powered. Sounds very interesting. Of course, you can't bet on it. You can't bet on it at all because there's no token right now, right? Unless you get some pre-allocation or something like that. But once it's like out and I can take a look at it, I'll kind of decide how I feel about the actual product itself. Wasabi Card is spicy. Why so spicy? Is crypto card issuing platform with Visa and MasterCard, USD payouts, API, and they'll probably make a ton of money with stablecoins. They've raised $10 million. That's kind of the angle, of course, for stablecoins. Is you make a bunch of money on the fees, right? And a few other angles, of course, but that's the big one. MintScan has raised 3.2 million. Interchain Blockchain Explorer and analytic performance for Cosmos SDK and sovereign networks. I don't really know how I feel about Cosmos. Of course, for me, I want everybody building something in crypto to win. The problem is really a lack of liquidity, like a lack of interest, especially in bear markets and stuff. So that's a hard one to have enough liquidity for all the projects to do extremely well without it just rotating from project to project. Hot like wasabi when I bust rhymes. There you go. Plague Dog's gonna get to rapping in here. So I want to touch on this Bitway because of course it pumped like crazy today. It's up 217% even right now. It's a layer 1 blockchain protocol designed for Bitcoin-based applications. If you've been to this channel, you know how I feel about Bitcoin DeFi. I think it could be great. I don't think that like Bitcoin maximalists and people who hold large amount of monies in Bitcoin are really interested in it, right? It's kind of like the gold bug guy who has a store of value, which is gold or silver, and he keeps it in a safe. They're not interested in, pulling it out and making it liquid, like moving it around. And the only people who are really out here trying to press them to pull their Bitcoin out and make it liquid and move it around in like a Bitcoin ecosystem are all the people who want to make money off of all the fees and stuff for the most part, right? And so that's a lot of incentive for people to try to get people to move stuff around in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but not really any incentive for the people who have the Bitcoin to move it around, if you feel me. Of course, there's yield, okay, and that's a little bit of incentive, but I don't know. I just feel like if you ever known somebody who's a gold bug kind of person, somebody stacking gold in their vault, they're not typically the type of people who want to move around and interact. They just want to hold it and hold it. They just believe it's going to go up, right? And they wouldn't have been wrong. Let's give them that, right? So market cap here, 85.6 million, 99.2 million. I know we've gone over this project before. I don't remember all the details as there's several different Bitcoin projects. No service allowed, of course. They do not like my VPN, I guess. Let's see, will they actually let me go to the app? I just wanted to show it. They're stingy. It's fine. I mean, I just wanted to show it off. You don't have to let me use it. Anyways, for whatever reason, they're doing something. People are liking it. The market cap is really low. So basically, you got a nice pump out of this like falling wedge, which is funny because lately all these falling wedges have done is just round out. That one actually massively pumped. Who saw that coming? Anyways, let's move on. It's Bitcoin DeFi. It's its own layer one. So for BNB 48 Club token, why do I feel like this has been on our radar before? 219 million in its market cap. Well done for such a kind of strange coin. It is cryptocurrency that is governance token for the BNB 48 Club, which we've talked about, but it has been a long time since we talked about the 48 Club. Make every transaction more private, secure, and valuable. And this is, of course, on the BNB chain. First and only infrastructure to fully integrate multiple cabinet validators, right? And primarily maximal extractable value builders. That's where it's seen as like a very positive thing. And fully priced RPC with real-time automated rewards. And it probably gives good rewards, especially if you know what Mev really does. The rewards, they could really pull some rewards, right? I don't know, is this within what amount of time? BNB in the previous 24 hours, almost 4,000 BNB and RPC totals. It's pretty cool. This is cool stuff. It's hard to be inside every single really cool thing. There's not enough money. You'd have to be a billionaire to be in all the cool crypto stuff, that's for sure. And if you were, you'd probably just get richer and richer as things just did crazy numbers. All right. Pancake swap. You should know what cake is. Opinion is, of course, Opinion Networks. Degen on base saw a 37% pump. I think I own about a very tiny amount of it. I was going to stack some and then I just didn't do so well. So I bought like 1 or 2 purchases on Coinbase and then I never stacked any more of it because I just found better things. Backpack we talked about. IOTA, the Internet of Things. Look at this. SN9. Please tell me you know what SN9 stands for and what ecosystem that's in. Otherwise, I have failed you to raise that crypto IQ. Signal Plus is another one out here. Is a crypto options trading firm with $101 million raised, right? Formed in 2021. This isn't the one that was primarily the Canadian market, is it? I don't think so. Zest Protocol is up 66%. Zest Protocol is interesting. It's only been around 0 years, it says, so it's brand new. Okay, so Zest Protocol is a Bitcoin lending protocol. Now, Bitway pumped like 240% today, so I'm thinking, I don't know, look at that thing kind of, I mean, the first wick where it first came out, I don't know, if anything kind of gives you its range, but if we're going to do some Bitcoin DeFi pumps, maybe this one has some relevance there. It's trending, right? People are looking at it. That's important. Might be one to set your eyes on here. Super low market cap, like super low market cap here. So I don't know. Somebody might take advantage of that. 34.7 million in market cap. Only been as high as like 39. I like it. Redefined. Redefined is a FCA regulated crypto theft insurance for individuals and businesses, self-custody and exchanges. Do they insure bridges? Because if they insure bridges, they could lose all their money very fast. Just like have one bridge hacked, like $500 million. Let that happen a couple of times. There's not going to be any money to back anybody up with. Amber Data. provides digital asset data and analytics for crypto markets and institutions. You see what it is. It's data. It's geared towards institutions. Ethereum name service, ENS, not to be confused with ENA, which pumped really hard the other day. And then we have this Jaya. Or I guess it'd be Haya if it's like a Hispanic company. Is a business finance platform for invoice finance and working capital, banking, and cash flow management. Sounds kind of cool. Investors like Coinbase. I mean, it definitely will have like a real world use case, which means cash flow. 7.3 million. I mean, somebody's going to nail these things. Anything that like companies use regularly in, real life is going to have equivalents in crypto over time, and people are going to use those, and they're going to make money just like anywhere else. And I just feel like, sorry, I had something important on my phone here. I just feel like keep an eye out for more companies just doing regular everyday stuff. Payroll. I mean, if you look at, it'll come to me. It's like Bankroll's favorite coin. What is it? And they do payroll type stuff. Zebek network, right? I always want to call it Zebekin because they always have the N for network on the end there. They do payroll type stuff. Just having like a crypto project and then having like a real world service in it just seems like a really smart move to actually bring revenue in when maybe other parts of the business or the market aren't doing so well. At least you could have something. Now it'd be really smart to use a percentage of your profits from that to buy back and stuff to keep the token propped up. That would be real smart, wouldn't it? You'd also be giving away some profits. People might not like that, shareholders. So $631 million flowing out of ETFs. Most of it, of course, the Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum kind of second. Actually, that's not true at all here. Oh, yeah. They didn't put these in order. I find that very weird. Oh, because there's inflows and outflows. Okay, this is very interesting. I don't use this a lot. This ETF chart is kind of new to me. So, yeah, so XRP winning with almost looks like 955,000, almost $1 million flowing into it today. The biggest inflow, DOT, saw a whopping $2,800 flow into it. If you know, you know. I'm not a big Polygon fan. And then it looks like where's Bitcoin? They show ETH had $79.6 million outflow. Why would you not show me BTC? Like that's literally insane. There we are. And of course you can toggle and change it. I do love that. I like Blockworks a lot so far. $517 million flowing out, and that's just for June 3rd. Yesterday had about the same amount of outflow. How much can they really sell off? Yeah, Camsta got it. Yeah, plays in his house. Hey, and shout out to Plague Dogs for being here. If he's out camping and he's still on stream, my man, thank you for supporting the channel. So let's see. Home, top gainer. Pretty sure it was like the top loser. Let's see. Telcoin, 27%, 23%. For Cyrene, Build on, Dexy, Form, and Just was also a top loser. So what's the top losers today? Zcash, Grass, Chili, VVV, Venice token. Come on, down under $10. Bro, if I could scoop some Venice token like on a dip around like $7-8, I'd be so happy. Near Protocol, Helium, useless coin is feeling awfully useless today. I don't know if you guys can hear. We got a new kitten for my cat. It's been a whole thing, if you know. Like, you know, I got a cat. It was super, playful and annoying. It needed another cat. Got another cat. It ended up getting like the most rare things you can get, and then passing away, which was terrible. So we just finally today got another kitten, and it is meowing pretty hard. I don't know. Can anybody hear that? It's a good test. I actually would like to know. Can anybody actually hear the cat meowing? So Double Ozo in the house. I think I've locked in on that version of your name. Yo, I missed y'all yesterday, fam. Hey, we missed you too. Saw you posting some big wins in the Discord, man. Hope you're all right. Obviously, I'm joking. It was like negative $1,000. I don't know if you closed that or not. Maybe it's unrealized. I don't know. Maybe you hung in there and turned that ship around. But either way, shout out to you, man. We're always here for you. We all know what it's like to take heavy losses and good wins. You don't really need you don't really need somebody to talk to when you win big, but when you lose big, you a lot of times can need somebody to talk to. So I'm here for you. I'm sure other people are here for you if you need it. I don't know if that's why you weren't on the stream yesterday. I don't know. Yeah, I cut out a little early yesterday. No worries, man. You do what you do. If you're just rolling in, smash that like button for me. We are raising people's crypto IQ day after day. Let's talk about a little bit of crypto news, right? What's relevant today? So crypto ETFs are bleeding. Yeah, we looked at that. About a little over 500 million coming out of the ETFs for Bitcoin alone, and then yesterday was about 400 and something, so about the same yesterday. Outflows for Bitcoin. XRP, almost about $1 million flowing into the XRP ETF was pretty cool. Again, I really like this Blockworks ETF. Let's see if I can get back to it. I almost got to remember how to get back to it real quick. And then we go to crypto ETFs. Yep, and then has this really awesome chart. So shout out to Blockworks for putting that together for us. All right, we want news. So yeah, a lot going on with the ETFs. Regular crypto native people a lot of times are not super worried about that, but your TradFi people is a different story, or I guess your bigger investors, they've been in the TradFi world for forever, so they look at things like ETFs. So BlackRock's IBIT saw another major redemption day, which is very interesting. Fidelity FBTC also lost. Wait, I thought it was a redemption day, right? Took biggest hit on Wednesday with ETF outflows. That lines up about 342 million in redemptions. Okay, I was thinking redemptions like it redeemed itself and bounced, but no, they're talking about they redeemed their money and they bounced. Fidelity saw about 54 million. We already basically, I'm sure that's looped in there on the ETF chart. Hyperliquid's Hype is the rare ETF bright spot, but the token is now pulling back. So Hype's ETF really pumped it, I guess, is what they're trying to say here. Hype-linked ETFs are the rare bright spot, while other ETFs bleed. 21 shares or THYP took in another 2.6 million, bringing cumulative ETF net flows to about 139 million since March 12th launch. So Hype ETF actually doing well. Arthur Hayes selling Hype and Near is one of the biggest social narratives today. So he sold his entire Hype and Near position. Good chance because he knows that we could go to like 40K or 45K. And these things are going to be cheaper than regardless. So why not sell where things are at decent prices and doing well and get back in lower, right? Higher energy prices. Yeah. See, all this type of stuff. Maybe he feels this way. Maybe he does. Most of them, this is just narrative, right? This is just how the game works. You cite a couple of narratives in whatever category, whether it's bullish or bearish, that you want to say, and then people just leave you alone. And then you just move on, and you buy back lower, and you do what you do over and over. Recently become very bullish on Hype, so the reversal caught attention. It's kind of like Michael Saylor selling a tiny amount of Bitcoin and everybody freaking out because, I don't know, somewhere along the way they feel like Saylor had promised them he was never going to sell. Now, I don't know if he said that, but his company had become the symbol of the never sell Bitcoin treasury strategy. And I don't know if people said that or if he said that because I don't study him that much. I pay attention to when he buys and stuff very loosely, but for the most part, I don't remember him ever saying he was never going to sell. He does run a company. He does have shareholders and stuff. Like, he does have to make good decisions. And again, the amount of money that he sold was very small. Even though the sale itself was small compared to Strategy total holdings, the narrative impact is much bigger. Prediction markets are pricing in Bitcoin's downside. And again, the narrative with him, I just feel like they just used it as a narrative. It's buy the rumor, sell the news kind of stuff. Prediction markets are pricing in more Bitcoin downside. Yeah, and they're probably going to be right. There probably is more downside. When we were going up, a lot of people were getting into that place where they didn't feel like, they were like, this is it. This is the bottom of the bear market. We're not going to go lower. When you look at the timelines and stuff, that's dangerous sentiment in Bitcoin because it's always doing what you think it can't do. MasterCard expands stablecoin settlements. New York and European unions are coordinating on stablecoin oversight. UK lawmakers are pushing the Bank of England to ease stablecoin rules because they're always tyrannical over there. Bissett pushes Clarity Access Bitcoin reserve is moving at deliberate speed. Yeah, I mean, don't look for any of that to happen quickly. Government moves slow. The CFTC and perpetual future narrative is still active. Decrypt's recent coverage have highlighted that CFTC approved Kalshi's EX, BTC perps. So that's very interesting there, making it U.S. regulated exchange. Kalshi is running around touting themselves as like the regulated platform here. MoonPay and AI agents are still part of the crypto payment narrative. Rundown lists MoonPay, which I've used MoonPay a lot of times back in the day for credit card transactions, and then all of a sudden it became, or not credit card, debit card like buys for crypto. They charge a fee, but it was an easier way to get into things in certain ecosystems, right? So Moon Agent as one of the top stories describing crypto infrastructure that lets AI agents trade on users' behalfs. So we need some big funders to come in and allow that to happen, right? Own support page says that MoonPay Agent is a non-custodial software layer that gives AI agents access to crypto tools. Nice. And Tether and Facets launch a gold-backed Visa card. All right, let's not spend too much time on that because I really would like to get to the narrative of the day. Now, there's some people who weren't here, so we're going to read through this real quick. Would have been nice to short, wasted my day shorting BTC. And yeah, that would have been good the other day, right? Seems like the lifer couldn't manifest 60K bottom for BTC. Zcash got slaughtered today. We saw, yep. Hey, the world of cryptocurrency. And that's why I said right now, because although, I mean, I short probably, not as much as I long, but I'm not afraid of shorting the market. But in these environments, I like to get low prices and stack spot positions. So I'm really moving away from even worrying about any kind of leverage trading and stuff. And I'm just going to buy spot bags of things that I like. It always seems to be the better idea. For me personally, you do whatever you want to do. So Bitcoin was not a claim on a building, and Ethereum was not a share of a company. Most tokens were native to the internet. But now, one of the biggest conversations in crypto is about bringing traditional assets on chain. This is our topic of the day. That is what people mean when they're talking about real-world assets. RWAs are not just another crypto trend. They represent a bridge between two very different systems. One side has bonds and treasuries. This is traditional finance, real estate, private credit, funds, and securities. Crypto blockchain infrastructure, on the other side, has transparent ledgers, programmable assets, faster settlement, and again, much faster settlement, global transferability, and composability. The RWA thesis asks, what if these two worlds could connect? And it sounds simple, but it's not, because real-world assets are very different from crypto-native assets. If you launch a meme coin, there may not be much legal complexity, but if you tokenize real estate, private credit, securities, treasury products, you now have to deal with legal ownership, investor rights, jurisdiction, compliance, identity, transfer restrictions, redemptions, custody, and reporting. And that is why RWA-focused chains exist. They are not trying to be faster, they are trying to build infrastructure that can support regulated real-world financial assets. And of course, I think it's good to have blockchains that are just dedicated to that, right? So where Plume and MANTRA become very interesting, Plume positions itself around RWA finance and on-chain asset management, where MANTRA positions itself around regulatory compliance and RWA tokenization. They're both making very similar bet in crypto, but the future may not be about creating new assets. It's also about bridging existing financial assets onto the blockchain rail. And I would say at first, almost all of RWA is just going to be bringing things on chain. I think it'll be much later that like new assets for RWA are created, right? And if that becomes a major trend, then RWA chains would become a serious infrastructure category. There is also a major risk. Tokenization does not automatically create liquidity. Putting an asset on chain does not automatically mean people will trade it, and making something digital does not actually make it automatically useful. So the deeper question is, can RWA chains create the real demand, real liquidity, and real institutional trust? That is the test. I think in time that they definitely can, but the early days might be a little shaky, right? I think we are in those early days, if you ask me. So RWAs are about connecting crypto with existing financial value. A lot of crypto narratives are built around creating something new, a new token. So here's their point here. Crypto narratives, as we know them right now, are very different from what the narrative of RWAs are, right? New tokens, new ecosystems, new money markets, new games, and new communities. But RWAs are different because they focus on assets that already exist outside of crypto, which could be a nice foundation for crypto markets, for people being involved in crypto and holding and having wallets and apps on their phone and stuff. If treasury bills and real estate and private credit, money markets, all the things they're listing here, are a foundational thing that you can do with blockchain technology, right? Because they all already have value. Money market funds already exist. The RWA thesis is not always, can blockchain create value from nothing? It's often, can blockchain make existing value easier to access, transfer, and settle or use, which really opens it up to a broader global market where regulation and things like that have really bogged down and made it hard for people to get into when they want to. In certain countries, of course. That is an important distinction, because if RWAs work, blockchain becomes less about speculation only and more about financial infrastructure. Why do institutions care about tokenization? To me, it should be a little bit obvious, but maybe it's not to you. Institutions do not care about blockchain because it sounds cool. They care about if it solves a problem. Traditional finance still has friction, settlement delays, intermediaries, limit market hours, operational overhead, fragmented record keeping, and restricted access. Tokenization could potentially improve parts of that. Probably all of it could be solved through tokenization, but maybe I'm a little bullish. A tokenized asset can represent ownership digitally, and with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and things of that nature, you can be immutable, and it can exist, and it can be very clear who owns something without really any confusion, and that could be helpful. It can move on chain, it can interact with smart contracts, it can settle faster, it can become programmable. That does not mean everything instantly becomes better though, but it explains why major institutions are exploring this category. Routers recently reports that US regulators clarified banks do not face extra capital charges merely because a security is tokenized. And Routers also reported that the NYSE partnered with Securities to develop tokenized security infrastructure, so it tells you where they're moving and where their head's at, where their mind's at. And that shows that this is not just a crypto native conversation anymore. Traditional finance, also known as TradFi, is paying attention. How's everybody doing out there? You raising your crypto IQ tonight? Thought this was a good topic. I was hoping we'd have a good amount of people here, and we do. Why RWA chains may need different infrastructure from your normal chains. A normal DeFi chain may prioritize permissionless activity above everything else, and that works well for crypto native users. But RWAs often require different assumptions. If the asset represents something regulated, the chain or application may need identity checks, permission transfer logic, compliance controls, issuer requirements, investor restrictions, legal enforcement pathways, auditability, redemption process. With everything being on-chain, auditability should be super easy. And that is why RWA chains may not look exactly like meme coin chains or gaming chains. And who would expect them to look like meme coin and gaming chains? I wouldn't. Not when you have the regulator breathing down your neck. The design priorities are different. Instead of asking, how do we make it fast? RWAs ask, how do we make it usable for regulated assets? That is a much harder and more specific problem than just trying to make something fast or seem fast. Now we laid the foundation here. Now we're going to talk about Plume, right? Double O Zoe, he's locking in. He's locking in. His head might be spinning, but he's getting it. He's soaking it up. So Plume's bet. RWA finance that feels crypto native. And we're kind of comparing Plume and MANTRA. It's been the thing all week. Monday, we compared Mega ETH and Monad. Tuesday, we compared SWI and Movement, right? There you go. What did we compare yesterday? My mind is slipping. All right, I am exhausted. Plume's bet is interesting because it's not only talking about tokenizing assets, it is positioning around what is called RWA Fi, or what are we going to call this? RWA? Sounds weird when you try to say it like that. RWA Fi is better, I guess, which is real world asset finance. The key idea is not simple. Put assets on chain. Sounds simple when you say it, but it's not. The bigger idea is make RWAs usable inside crypto native financial applications. Plume's website emphasizes on-chain asset management and describes RWAs as globally accessible financial tools with crypto native utility. That matters because tokenized assets sitting in wallets are not enough. The real question is whether those assets can become useful. Can they be used as collateral, like with loans and all kinds of different things? Can they plug into DeFi? Can they generate yield? Is that going to be allowed? Can they move across financial applications? Can they become part of a larger on-chain economy? That is where RWA Fi becomes interesting. Plume is trying to make RWA feel less like a static financial wrapper and more like an asset that can actually participate in crypto. This is far more monumental and important than you think it is. I mean, here's a big one. Think about this, and I don't know what the answer is, right? But the yields in crypto on average compared to TradFi are way bigger, right? So if you're somebody who's already kind of asset rich from the old TradFi ways, maybe you're 70, and you've got it all wrapped in a nice trust and you want to hand it down, but there's all this new world. Maybe you, or maybe the people who you're going to hand it down to when you pass away, maybe instead of getting really low percentages, if any, a lot of them are getting appreciation on their assets, of course, as the market goes up, but are they earning additional yield on top of it? Well, if they can come in, that brings a lot of money into the market, and that could be really good for crypto as a legitimacy, because people a lot of times will just look at how much money's in the market and determine if that's an important market worldwide. So the bigger that crypto market gets, the more likely people are to take it seriously, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that was Plume. Let's talk about MANTRA. Regulatory alignment as a feature, which is also very important because everything that you're bringing on-chain, traditional assets, all have a ton of regulatory around them, and you're going to need to know it's done right so you don't personally wind up being liable for something. MANTRA takes a slightly different angle here. So MANTRA's official site describes it as a permissionless chain for tokenizing and trading real-world assets and according to regulatory requirements. Now, maybe We understand why Mantra was pumping so hard not so long ago. I haven't seen it lately, but for a while it was getting a lot of pump. And that language, it matters. A lot of crypto projects try to avoid regulation or treat it like an obstacle. RWAs, focused projects, they can't do that. Like, they have to kind of come at the regulatory framework head on. So if you're dealing with real-world asset regulatory alignment and becoming part of a product, that may sound boring to crypto natives, and I get it. But raising your crypto IQ and discipline, let's go back to the topic of the day, discipline bridges that gap, and discipline is doing things that are really hard when you don't want to do them. So, although this might sound boring, I think this is a great crypto IQ raising topic. So, but to an institution, it can be the difference between participation and non-participation. And if you want the institutional money in the game, you gotta make it so they not just want to participate. A lot of times their hands are tied with the regulators because they're institutions and they can't participate. It's not even an option. So Mantra's pitch is tied to the idea that serious RWA adoption requires compliant infrastructure. That does not guarantee success though, but it reflects the reality that brings real-world asset on-chain is not just a technology problem, it's also a legal and regulatory problem. How is everybody doing here tonight? Do you feel like you're learning something? Did you zone out? Did you mute the channel and just start playing some jazz music in the background so you could make the room stop spinning? Tell me in the chat. How's it going? Is this a good topic for you guys? Are you learning something? Did you already think you knew everything about RWAs? Let me know. So tokenization does not automatically create liquidity. Double O Zo says he's learning. I love to hear that from somebody who's newer to the channel than some other people. He's coming in, he's learning. That means I'm doing my job, y'all. Tokenization does not automatically create liquidity, okay? This is one of the most important cautionary points around this whole narrative. A lot of people hear tokenized asset and they assume that means instant liquidity, but that is not always true. Making an asset digital does not automatically create buyers. Putting something on chain does not automatically create a deep market. Liquidity requires demand, market makers, participants, trust, transparency, redemption confidence, regulatory clarity, and useful secondary markets. For me, this is where I see your exchanges, your centralized exchanges coming in, because they're going to be market makers and they're going to have the liquidity. And you already kind of see it with what is, I guess, basically a tokenized SpaceX asset being offered on things like leaks and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool. So recent academic work using RWA.xyz, which for whatever reason I couldn't go to without going past the kind of risk wall on my antivirus, which is weird. I've never been to this website, so I don't know a lot about it, but it seems like it's kind of a staple. And Etherscan data argues that tokenization and liquidity should be analyzed by distinct outcome, because on-chain representation alone does not guarantee meaningful trading activity. Drop a 111 in the chat if you can hear my cat meowing in the background, because I'd really like to know. Try and figure out what asset I'm going to bring on chain. Hey, probably your Lamborghini, man. All your fancy sport cars. You should bring them on chain and let us all own pieces of them. Jimmy Villain says, personally, I love to learn anything about crypto. We'll be making 8 p.m. a routine. Hey, I love that. I love to hear that. So that is a critical point for the audience. The RWA narrative is powerful, but it has to be evaluated carefully. It's got to be done right. And a lot of people got really excited about Plume. They got excited about Ondo. They got excited about all the narrative. But really all that happened is a group of people showed up and said, hey, we're going to build something. And everybody was like, oh, okay, so tomorrow around noon, I can expect it to be up and fully functioning and regulated. And there's just this disconnect between the average person, because the average person's crypto IQ is so low, and not trying to be mean here, but a lot of people's regular IQ is not very high. We'd like to raise that as well, across the board. And so the problem is, they all got mad at Ondo because like it wasn't rich with ecosystem and tokenized. It's like you have to deal with a regulator, and that's the government, and they're extremely slow and meticulous, and it has to be exactly the way that they want it, or you can't play ball. And there's legal consequences if you try to push past that. It's a whole moving thing. So there's a lot moving in the background, and I know that they will do it. Now, will it be Ondo, or will it be Plume, or another company? Will the government do it all themselves? That part is still up in the air, but the idea will come into fruition at some point. I believe without a shadow of a doubt. Who will lead that charge is a different thing. So TVL, or total value locked, can be misleading in an RWA market. Crypto investors love big TVL numbers, right? But in RWAs, TVL alone can hide the important risk, and this is where you could set yourself up in the future to understand something important that the masses probably are only going to learn when they get burned. You could learn before you get burned. I think that's an astounding amount of value. So please hit that like button. Kamsa says 111, so he can hear the cat meowing in the background. That would be great someday. Yeah, exactly. I thought you had like 11 luxury sports cars. Tell my wife she needs to come get this cat because it is meowing like crazy. So in RWAs, TVL alone can hide an important risk. So that right there kind of sets you up that there's going to be some sauce. A tokenized asset might have a large represented value, but limited trading activity. It might be concentrated among a small number of holders. It might not have active secondary markets, right? And it might be difficult to redeem. Now we're going to run this back real quick, right? Because I feel like this is worth doubling down on. Yesterday, I literally reread the whole thing that we went over, and that might happen sometimes as we get into some more complicated markets. Real quick, let me see the kitten. Not show off the kitten for a second. Just like, what's going on? I feel his kitten's heart racing. Yeah, so whatever. What's going on? Photo shoot? Alright. That's enough of cute kittens. Hopefully everybody smashed the like button. Yeah, he says, dude, I can't find my car. Yeah. All 11 of your sports cars, you can't find them? Man, hey, hopefully you're gonna find those. So I started to read this and then I realized it's a little complicated. So let's do it again, right? I really want to lock in, and I can tell when something's a little complicated. So TVL, total value locked. Crypto investors, they love big TVL numbers. It's a metric a lot of people pay attention to. But in RWAs, the total value locked alone can hide an important risk. And we want to double down on this because in the future, this might be something that we can see that the masses are not going to know. That is the value of raising that crypto IQ and a compounding value of coming to the stream every night. So a tokenized asset might have a large represented value, but a limited trading activity. It might be concentrated among a small number of holders, just like we'll get like the volume 2 bubbles to see who's holding a coin. It might not have active secondary markets. It might be difficult to redeem. That could be a real problem if you were stacking it. A recent academic paper argues that headline metrics like TVL can obscure liquidity risk, concentrated risk, and market quality risk in tokenized RWA markets specifically. And that means we need to think deep. The question is not only how much value is tokenized, the question becomes how usable is that liquidity, distributed and trusted is that value. Again, run that back. when a bunch of things become tokenized, they're going to tout these big numbers of how much value is tokenized. And they're going to try to wow you and draw you in with how much value is tokenized. But you need to ask the question, how much of it is usable, liquid, distributed, and trusted, right, in the marketplace? That is my personal opinion, never financial advice. So that is the difference between hype and real infrastructure. The bigger RWA questions, public chains, permissioned rails, or specialized network. This is where the episode gets deeper. I know. Right when you thought that it couldn't get any deeper, it does. No Blues Guy and Reliable J today. Yeah, I don't know if maybe they're at the Lifer stream. The Lifers, it's only for the paid Discord. I'm not sure if Blues Guy has the paid Lifer Discord or not. I know Reliable J does. But yeah, I don't know. I think Blues Guy, he might just be sleeping. I don't know. Even though he says he never needs any sleep, he be sleeping more than you would think. So this is where the episode gets deeper. If institutions move on chain, where do they go? Like, do they use public chains like Ethereum? Do they use specialized RWA chains like Plume and MANTRA? Do they use institutional networks like Canton? Or do they use private and permission systems? It's going to be pretty likely that they'll lean towards that, right? So Canton Network 2026 RWA report urges that the path to trillions is not simply pick one chain, but rather building an interoperability that creates regulated issuance with broader liquidity while preserving institutional controls. That is the real battlefield. The future may not be one chain winning everything. It may be split between public liquidity, regulated issuance, compliant transfer systems, institutional settlement rails, and DeFi composability. RWA chains are trying to position themselves inside that future. What would make an RWA chain actually matter here? This is a practical evaluation framework. A real RWA chain needs more than just branding and clever marketing. It needs credit asset issuers, actual tokenized assets, compliant infrastructure, of course, useful DeFi integration, liquidity, institutional trust in all of those things, transparent reporting for the regulator, redemption mechanisms, security, and long-term demand. That's a long list, right? If it only has the phrase RWA attached to it, that's just not going to be enough. And I think that's the part that the masses, crypto IQ too low to really understand. At this current time, there hasn't been enough education in that space. The audience should leave with this idea. RWA chains should be judged by the quality of the asset, quality of the infrastructure, and quality of the liquidity and quality of the trust, not just by TVL headlines. They just kind of gave you the sauce for, if you're looking at RWA projects, you should be judging the quality, this is their words, not mine, of the asset, quality of infrastructure, and quality of liquidity. And then that asset, infrastructure, and liquidity should really kind of tell you a story about how much it's trusted, right, overall by institutions, because institutions are where all that money is coming from by majority. Blues Guy, here he is. We were just talking about him. You say his name, and a lot of times he does just appear. He says, hey, beautiful peoples, gratitude in the house. Hola, everyone. Opportunities are usually disguised as hard work. Most people don't recognize them, and plans are only good intentions unless they are immediately degenerate into hard work. I don't know if degenerate is the right word there, but welcome in. Good to see you. Glad to see you here. We talked you into the stream. Absolutely, says Double Ozo. I like that. I'm locking in. That's your name now. Eugene, my man. Great to see you, sir. Back at you, Blues Guy. Hope everything is super blessed. And we still have to catch up, man. So we will. Maybe you're available tonight. You let me know. Tokenization is not the same as adoption. Okay, there's a difference. A real RWA chain has to turn real-world assets into a usable, trusted, liquid, on-chain financial infrastructure. If it doesn't do that, then it pretty much fails. I think that there is demand, right? I think that there definitely is demand overall for a lot of those assets. And a lot of those demand are maybe in places that are outside of, like, the demand is probably coming from places where it is hard to buy, like a treasury or bond or something like that. Especially quick and easy in a DeFi kind of way. Click a button, you're in a swap some USDT for some US treasury. You know what I'm saying? Like quick and easy, like DeFi is always set up to be. I see demand for that being high. So I could see markets doing well, but maybe not at first. You feel me? Like maybe not the first year or two that they're out will they have like super high demand. You kind of gotta like raise awareness, kind of like what we're trying to do on the channel here. Gotta raise some awareness that those things even exist. What do we do after such an intense crypto IQ raising event? We play chainers a little bit just to kind of you know, bring it down a notch. I actually have everything I need here to upgrade, get me another rare plot. Let's do that. And here at Underground Crypto, we love some DeFi gaming. And for that exact reason, I think DeFi gaming pairs very well with high intensity raise that crypto IQ. And I really testing you guys this week, right? And myself, of course, like I'm here to learn as well. This is not, look how smart I am, so much smarter than everybody. That's not what we're doing here. We learn together as a community. We're a crypto family, I tell you. But one thing I want to say is there's a lot of times in topics, they're a little bit easier and not as complex because I want to start with some foundation and some base. But every once in a while, we got to crank that knob up a little bit and kind of see where we're at and see how much more difficult information you're really ready to handle and how much you can get it. Now, no big deal if it's a little hard to understand because we're going to come back to things, right? We're not going to just go over things one time and then never talk about them again. That just wouldn't make a lot of sense now, would it? Still stacking up this farm. They gave me like a ton of animals the other day, which was really interesting. I don't think I have food. Oh, I do. I have food for this. Wait, that looks like a sheep, and that is obviously a chinchilla. Okay, very interesting. I don't have a lot of food. But anyways, it's a good break. I can feed cow food to a goat. I mean, I guess. Why wouldn't we do that? If we can feed them, let's feed them. Claim some missions here, get some CFB since I just spent some. 1 CFB, which is the in-game currency. Let's feed this pig. Gotta keep the pigs happy. He gives me a bunch of them when he's done. This pig gives me like 1. It's kind of lame. You're like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about chainers, guys. Again, I want to decompress after a long day. And, you know, what do we normally go over that you love that we didn't go over? We touched on some news where I guess the news articles would be talking about. We touched on what's trending. We touched on where Bitcoin's at by price. Let's see. Into the working week end. Yeah, there you go. Cool deal. Always glad to be here. Glad to hear that, Double Ozo. Great to see you. Yep, absolutely. Melissa's out of here. Have a good night. Hey, well, I'm glad that you at least caught the topic of the night, although I'm sure you're probably pretty tired. Thanks for being here. Everybody, you know, round of applause for Melissa. Always being a wonderful mod, always being here and holding it down and helping me out greatly. Blues guy as well. But since Melissa's leaving, you know, let's leave her with some gratitude. Thank you, Melissa, for all you do. Have a great night, and I will see you on tomorrow's stream, hopefully. I think so. I think you said you were going to be available. This thing is just like merging things that I never even told it to do, but I guess I'll take it. How's that music? We gotta start over with the fan favorite song here. Blues Guy says, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again. Yep. Says Melissa, we love you. Don't go. She's got to go. She's got to be up at like 4 in the morning. So it's how it goes sometimes. And I tell you, I've been listening to Jim Rohn every day. I was listening to him every day, hitting the gym and stuff for a while. Life threw some crazy curveballs, of course. And I did not go to this. It's not like I completely fell off, but like I definitely had more days that I was missing than not missing any days like I was before. But I'm back to being super locked in, and it feels great. And I'm back to listening to just hours of Jim Rohn, literally. And Dan Moeller, who a lot of you guys are probably not familiar with, one of my favorite people to listen to. And so, basically, I'm having a wonderful time, but man, I'm getting up earlier than ever and crushing those workouts. Basically, by about noon, I've already spent a little over 5 hours on physical exercise between walking in the gym. 5 hours, right? Most people stress about, giving 8 hours to a job. Get up and add 5 hours to your personal health. But Jim Rohn says, work on yourself much harder than you work at your job. And I really take that to heart. So, of course, one aspect of working on yourself is, of course, your physical body. Because you could gain all this money, but if you can't bend over to pick up your grandchild at whatever age, 55, 60, then what do you really have, right? If you can't enjoy going on that vacation when you made it and you got the dough, you didn't take care of your body, so you have all these health problems, then what do you really got? And that's definitely a valid thought. We do so much to try to get a little bit of freedom. A lot of people, some people get a little hyper money focused. It's stored value so that you can have time and enjoy time later on. That's what money really is. And what good is that stored time and value if when you get to the stored time and value, you're not really all that capable of enjoying it? And then there's also an aspect of like, you might think, oh, well, when I have the money, I'll have the time, I'll have the freedom, and I'll get in shape. Every day you wait to get in shape, it is much, much, much harder. Never impossible. I would never say it was too hard, but it's much difficult the more years you let go by and the more damage it's done, right? And so, kind of urge everybody, especially if you're, under 40 years old, take that stuff serious before you just rack up a bunch of extra hard work to do. And shout out to all my people already taking care of themselves. And then, there's so much to get into there. This is not a purely motivational channel, but like I keep saying, I recognize that if you got into crypto, you got into these markets, you want to educate yourself, you're doing the right thing, there is a high chance, right, that you're somebody who's motivated to change your life. It might have started with just the belief that you could make some meaningful money or generational money in the crypto markets. I never give financial advice, but we are here educating ourselves about the details that could lead to those kind of monumental generational gains, right? And so I just want to encourage everybody that it's hard, but it's well worth it. Work harder on yourself than you do at any job, right? That's the message here that I'm going with. And our quote of the day was Jim Rohn as well. Discipline bridging those gaps between, what you want and what you're probably going to get. And I also love that Jim Rohn also teaches a very hard looking truth at where you're at. He says in life, you're getting exactly what, you kind of signed up for. You're getting probably about what you're really putting effort into. And a lot of people are convinced they're working 100 times harder than they're actually working. And they have these invisible ceilings of what they are capable of that are very different from what they're actually capable of. And they won't ever know that because they have an invisible ceiling. And it's just crazy to think people will live their whole life and never challenge a narrative or a ceiling of what's possible that they put on themselves or were given, most of the time given through, parents and family and close friends who meant well. They meant very well, but out of their fear, they gave them advice like, just get a regular job, man. At least you'll know you have a paycheck every week. Knowing how much money you're going to make every week can be terrifying if you view it under the right circumstances. I like to have surprises where I make double what I normally make. That doesn't happen with a 9-to-5 job. Not double. You might get one extra shift or 2 extra shifts. You might make an extra $300. But are you going to make double that week? Probably not. Very, very, very unlikely. Let's see what we got going on here in the chat. Says we miss you already. Absolutely, yeah. Bro, we have to push ourselves to listening to him. It makes us feel better and changes everything microscopically. Let's go. Yep, harder work. Yeah, work harder. Yeah, and if you listen to Jim Rohn and it hurts, then it's for you. Like, it's working. Keep listening. You don't even have to, here's the crazy part. You don't even have to immediately implement or do or change anything. Just listen to it. You don't even have to agree with him. Just show that you're an open person and you can absorb information and you can at least ponder it a little bit. There's a little bit of something going on upstairs. You can just take it in and think about some of the concepts and then weigh them against your belief and see if you think they might do something for you. Double Ozo says, I hit the gym today just for the chair massage after my 8-hour work shift. Yeah, exactly. Hey, technically you went to the gym. That's a good start. A lot of times I find I'll go to the gym just to use the hydro massage because I just walked for 3 hours. So I'd like to hit that hydro massage, and sometimes I'm really burnt and it's hot. It's in Florida. And even though I get up early at 8:30 p.m., it's 90 something degrees, right? And I'm in the woods. And anyways, hit that hydro chair and I'm like, well, I guess I'll go hit the Smith machine for 2-3 sets. I'm already here, and the next thing you know, I do a full workout, right? Those are on the harder days, right? I got Jim Rohn in my ear, so I'm let me just push myself to just at least do one exercise. Next thing you know, I do a full workout routine, right? And I'm then happy and proud of myself leaving there that I pushed myself, right? So sometimes just going there can be a real positive, but I love those massage chairs for sure after my 8-hour work shift. Yeah, you're on the right sauce, my friend. Gym is my house. Organic push-ups, sit-ups, and chin-ups. Hey, I literally have a bench and a bunch of open area in my room here right next to my office. I love doing some push-ups and stuff, sit-ups, all that stuff, but man, it is nice to have some weight equipment for sure. And I got dumbbells here and stuff like that. I need to get some 35s. My highest dumbbell's 25. So when I go to the gym, then I can grab the 45s and the 55s and stuff. I don't want to drop all the dough to buy all those. Have you guys looked at how much the dumbbells cost? It is crazy. You pay by the pound. It's great if you're only going to work out outside at your house, right? But anyways, enough of that. I'm just trying to encourage people to go after the best life, and not some people don't need to necessarily be encouraged. Kind of more want to let everybody know that this is also a really safe community to talk about your dreams and your goals. It might not be crypto, but bettering ourselves, raising that crypto IQ, that mentality kind of should seep into everything, if you ask me. Hey, and if you hate all that stuff, then just come for the crypto information. No worries. But I don't see many people with that vibe. Blues Guy says sauna is fun. Man, I wish my gym had a sauna. It does not have a sauna. That would be really awesome. It's one of the few things that it doesn't have. I mean, a lot of gyms don't have red light therapy and a hydro chair and massage chairs. They have saunas. And you know what's funny? My last gym that I went to it did have a sauna. And the sauna was nice, but it'd be broken like all the time. Foreign people would come in there and like pour water on the thing like it was hot stones, And it wasn't that kind of sauna. It was like an expensive piece of equipment. They would break it all the time because they'd go in there and pour water on it. And then there was like signs everywhere say don't pour water on it. But all the signs were in English and they were foreign. So I don't know if they didn't care or if they just didn't read the stuff because it's not in a language that they recognize. Anyways, it was pretty funny. They were always mad at him. They were always breaking it. It was always down. And honestly, even though it had one, I rarely got to use it because of that. Why I went into that, I don't even know. Jim Rohn and I have the exact first name. First person I know that has my exact name spelling of my first name. Manuel. Nice. Wait, you mean his name's not Jim? I'm messing with you. But that's really cool. Hey, at least you have something that kind of draws you, towards him and highlights him in your mind, right? And what was the exact quote of the day? Keep referencing it because, I know his speakings well. I get the point. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Yeah, that's right. Jim Rohn. Can't go wrong with that. All right, guys, what else do you guys want to talk about? What else you guys want to go over? We're rolling into 10 o'clock. The members only stream. It comes after this. I'm just going to... I don't know, the markets are down and people don't have a lot of questions. That's what the members only stream is for, the members. Sometimes I'm gonna have a lot of things drummed up. I have a lot of things to talk about and go over for myself and my own notes and stuff. I've been, applying to some treasuries and stuff like that. It's been a hard road. I think I'm probably going to pivot from that and do some other things and approach some other people about maybe getting some sponsors and stuff. Kind of trying to push it hard. Use ChatGPT to analyze my analytics for my YouTube channel, which is not like a quick, easy thing to do. You have to download a lot of very specific, there's a lot of analytics in YouTube, right? And so you got to feed all that information to a AI of your choosing and then get it to kind of drum up some appropriate advertising and stuff. It's a long process, but I'm working behind the scenes more than you know. Get to a point where I can full-time crypto every single day and not worry about anything else and maximize the amount of value that I bring to you and grow the channel, of course. Living the dream. It's funny when your dream becomes a lot less about just having a bunch of money in the bank and your dream becomes about working really hard every single day on a very specific niche or, idea. But I thank everybody for being here. I'm going to go ahead and set up that members-only stream to kind of move over. How long the members-only stream is going to be is always very much dictated by the members. I kind of steer the ship a little bit there. But at some point, if nobody's asking questions and nobody's taking it to any places, then that's the end of the stream. Let's start it in 5 minutes. That sounds good. I thought today's stream was highly educational. I learned a lot. And I've been over that information plenty of times, but something about the repetition of information really allows you to access it in a different way and maybe move it from information to wisdom. Ooh, they're gonna give me a plot of land. I will take that. Very valuable in chainers. They're doing like their I don't know, like 3 or 4 year anniversary kind of thing. So they're giving away good stuff right now. Either way, I'm gonna play some crypto slots. I'm excited about that. See if we can hit a little bag. Only happens a few times per month, like per website that we use and stuff, but hitting that free $50, $60, $100 bag of some crypto is always exciting. And we're just looking for opportunity in places where it lies. Certain things like stake.com are crypto native. I mean, you cash out an XRP right to Coinbase and you can flip that, directly into something else. Just reminded me I need to email the Lifer team. So many things to do every day, not enough time. What's really annoying is that they don't have the ability to just take a reel and upload it and post it to all the social medias. That part is super annoying. I feel like a good hour of my day or more is just posting my 2 reels I make a day to all the different social media. Some days I'm like, I don't know, it's just like, but then I get a good day where I get really good views somewhere like Facebook Reels, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I gotta post them over here. Got 2,000 views. It's better than I got on YouTube. Like, how do I not post over there? But man, it's a pain keeping up with all that stuff. And to sit and schedule them for many days in advance is a pain too. I know, first world problems over here. But somebody should really make an easy way to just post a reel to every platform. So if you know an easy way to do that. I'm also very excited about coming up with this board game idea for the show. I have not forgotten. I'm not going to let that not happen. I just was taking some days and hours to focus on using some DAOs and some treasuries to see if we could get some sponsorships. Looks like I have to wait for some grants to open. Anyways, I can rattle on more about that in the members only stream. I think I'm going to use the members only stream to have a lot of the time to maybe build out those products. The game's going to be super cool. It's going to be, I'm not even going to tell you all that it is, because we're going to kind of put our heads together and come up with quite a few of what it is. I don't think building it'll be super hard, but I gotta know what it is. Because otherwise, how do you know what the heck you're building? But I look forward to many more fun streams with everybody. I know I'm just talking. Talking is my specialty. Wow, we're already at 2,000. I was only trying to go to 1,000. All right, let them take me out. So I want to see what I get. I will zone out and go to 10,000 on this game. No problem. Not that that's any real accomplishment here. More of a waste of time once you get over 1,000. Anyway, stay underground, stay crypto. Love all my underground crypto family. Not a lot of people recently really reaching out to me in DMs and stuff like that. If anybody wants to chat, hit me up. We can go in the voice chat, all that good jazz. Stay underground, stay crypto.